My brother slept with my son's girlfriend. I told my son to forgive him. Now I lost him forever. Getting married without us. And I lost my family trying to keep the wrong one together. I've spent 30 years putting out fires. Literal ones. I was a fire chief until I retired last year. The kind where you run into burning buildings while everyone else runs out. I thought I was good at staying calm under pressure, making the right call when it mattered. Turns out I'm only good at the fires I can see. The call came at 11:21 p.m. on a Tuesday. Wyatt's name on my screen. My oldest doesn't call late unless something's wrong. So, I answered on the first ring. Holden slept with Ivy. No hello, no build-up, just 5 words that didn't make sense for a solid 3 seconds. What? You heard me. His voice was flat, empty, like he'd already used up whatever emotion he had, and this was just the report. I came home early from the work trip. They were in my bed. My stomach dropped. Ivy was Wyatt's girlfriend of 2 years. Sweet girl, graphic designer, talked about ring shopping with my ex-wife last month. Holden was my younger son, 24, still figuring his life out, tending bar downtown. Wyatt, where are you packing? Don't do anything stupid. I'm coming over. I threw on jeans and drove across town doing 70 and a 55. Kept thinking there had to be more to it. A misunderstanding, something. Wyatt's apartment door was unlocked when I got there. I found him in the bedroom methodically folding clothes into a duffel bag. No tears, no yelling, just mechanical precision like he was checking items off a list. Talk to me, I said. He didn't look up. Nothing to talk about. I know what I saw. Where's Ivy? Gone. I told her to leave. He zipped the bag. Holden, too. He tried to explain. I didn't want to hear it. Son. Don't. He finally met my eyes, and that's when I saw it wasn't anger. It was something colder. Decision. I'm staying at a hotel tonight. I'll figure out the rest tomorrow. I convinced him to sit down. Made coffee neither of us drank. He told me the details in that same flat voice. The early return. The sounds from the bedroom. Walking in on them. Holden panicking. Ivy crying. Wyatt just standing there until they left. I need you to let me handle this. I said. Let me talk to your brother. Do what you want. I'm done. He wasn't done. He was 28 years old with a good job and his whole life ahead of him. This was fixable. It had to be. I showed up at Holden's apartment the next morning. He answered looking like he hadn't slept, eyes red, still wearing yesterday's clothes. Dad, just tell me why. He slumped on the couch, head in his hands. I don't know. It just happened. We were talking and she was upset about something with Wyatt and I was trying to help. And then he looked up at me. I think I have real feelings for her. Jesus Christ. You think? I know I screwed up. But Dad, what if this is actually real? What if? What if your brother never speaks to you again? That shut him up. Ivy called me that afternoon. Sobbing, said she never meant to hurt anyone. That she and Wyatt had been having problems. That Holden understood her in ways. I stopped listening halfway through. Everyone had reasons. Everyone had feelings. Nobody had thought about consequences. I spent that night thinking about my divorce, about keeping these boys together when their mother and I couldn't keep ourselves together. About every holiday, every birthday, every moment I'd worked to make sure they stayed close. I wasn't losing that. Not over this. I got both of them to meet me 2 days later. Neutral ground, a park bench near the river where I used to take them fishing as kids. Holden showed up first, nervous. Wyatt came exactly on time. Face unreadable. We're going to work through this, I said. We're family. Wyatt said nothing. I looked at Holden first. What you did was wrong. You know that. He nodded, miserable. Then I turned to Wyatt. And you have every right to be angry. But son, she was a girlfriend. You'll find someone else. You only have one brother. Something flickered across Wyatt's face. I'm asking you to be the bigger person here. I continued for the sake of this family. Holden made a mistake. People make mistakes. We forgive. We move forward. Wyatt stood up slowly. So, you're asking me to pretend this didn't happen? To sit across from them at dinner and smile? I'm asking you to not let this destroy our family. He looked at me for a long moment, then at Holden, who couldn't meet his eyes. Okay, Dad. His voice was perfectly calm. I understand exactly what you're asking. He turned and walked toward the parking lot. Wyatt, I'll make it easy for everyone. He called back without turning around. I watched him drive away, feeling like I just diffused the situation. Kept the family intact. I had no idea I just lost my son. The first week, I figured Wyatt needed space. I texted him a few times, casual stuff, nothing heavy. Got back one-word answers, fine, busy. Later. Week 2, I called to invite him to dinner, straight to voicemail, left a message, no call back. Week 3, I drove to his apartment. He wasn't home, left a note on his door. Week 4, he finally answered my call. Hey, Dad, you've been avoiding me. I've been working. It's been a month, Wyatt, we need to talk about this. There's nothing to talk about. I'm not making scenes. I'm just not available. The line went dead before I could respond. Meanwhile, Holden and Ivy were officially together. He brought her to my place for Sunday dinner like nothing had happened. I'll admit it felt weird at first, but I kept thinking about what I told Wyatt. She was just a girlfriend. These things happen, so I acted normal. Made them feel welcome. Took a photo of them on my deck. Posted it to Facebook with some caption about family. Holden looked relieved. Ivy looked grateful. Wyatt didn't like her comment. I told myself he'd come around. He just needed more time. 2 months in, I put my foot down, told Wyatt I was hosting Thanksgiving and I expected him there. Not asking. Telling. He showed up. I counted that as a win. But the second he walked in, I knew something was different. He was polite, greeted everyone, brought a bottle of wine, even shook Holden's hand when my younger son approached him nervously. But there was a wall there, something I couldn't quite name. Dinner was tense. Wyatt sat between me and my ex-wife, answered questions when asked, but didn't offer anything on his own. When Holden tried to joke about some childhood memory, Wyatt smiled, except the smile didn't touch his eyes. Ivy tried once. Wyatt, I'm really glad you came. Thanks for having me, Dad, he said, looking at me instead of her. After dinner, I cornered him in the kitchen while he was washing his wine glass. This is good, I said. You being here, it's a start. He set the glass in the rack carefully. A start to what? To healing, moving past this. He dried his hands on the towel, movements deliberate. Dad, I am past it. That's why I'm not here anymore. You're standing in my kitchen because you guilted me into it. But this, he gestured vaguely toward the living room where Holden and Ivy were laughing at something on TV. This isn't my life anymore. They're your family. You're my family. Holden's my brother. But I don't owe either of you my presence at a table where I'm expected to smile at the people who broke me. Broke you? Jesus. Wyatt, you act like what? Like my brother sleeping with my girlfriend was a big deal. His voice stayed level, but something dangerous flickered underneath. You asked me to let it go. I did. I let go of all of it. He walked out, didn't storm. Just left calmly. Deliberately. I found out later he drove 6 hours back to his place that same night rather than stay in the guest room like he'd planned. The distance got worse after that. He stopped responding to group texts. Missed Holden's birthday. When I pushed, he sent a Venmo with a note. Hope it was good. I started hearing about him through other people. My buddy Dennis mentioned running into Wyatt at a restaurant 2 hours north. Didn't know he was up this way much. He wasn't. He was looking at apartments. I found out through his HR department. I still had an emergency contact form from years ago. Called them asking if he'd been in an accident because I couldn't reach him. They told me he'd put in for a transfer. Out of state. I drove to his place immediately. He was home packing boxes. You're leaving? Got a promotion. Took it. Where does it matter? I'm your father. Yes, it matters. He taped a box shut. New Mexico, environmental consulting for a different region. Better pay, better opportunities. You turned down the promotion here. I heard about that, too. He looked at me then. Really looked at me. The one here required me to stay local. That wasn't an option anymore because of Holden. Because of you, he went back to packing. You asked me to choose between my dignity and your comfort. I chose my dignity. That means I don't stay in a place where I'm expected to pretend everything's fine. Running away doesn't solve anything. I'm not running. I'm choosing peace. I tried everything. Reminded him of memories, of birthdays, of fishing trips. Told him he was being stubborn, that he was hurting me. That families work through hard things. He just kept packing. I drove to his apartment 6 days later, moving day. I decided I wasn't letting him leave without one more real conversation. The door was unlocked. I pushed it open, empty. Every piece of furniture gone, every picture off the walls, just keys sitting on the kitchen counter and the echo of my footsteps on bare floors. On the kitchen table, a single photo remained. The 2 boys as kids, probably 7 and 11, holding up fish they'd caught on one of our trips. Both grinning, arms around each other. Next to it, a note in Wyatt's handwriting. You taught me to stand up for myself. I finally am. I stood there in that empty apartment for 20 minutes staring at those words, trying to figure out where I'd gone wrong. I still didn't get it. 3 years went by like that. Wyatt sent birthday texts, always on time. Always brief. Happy birthday, Dad. Hope it's good. I'd call to thank him. Sometimes he'd answer. Sometimes not. When he did, the conversations lasted maybe 5 minutes. Work was fine. Weather was fine. Everything was fine. He never visited. Not once. I told myself it was the distance. New Mexico was far. He was busy building his career. Young guy, new city, probably dating. He'd come around eventually. Then Holden called me at 2 a.m. Drunk and sobbing. She cheated on me. I was still half asleep. Who? Ivy. With some guy from her firm. I found messages. I sat up suddenly awake. The irony wasn't lost on me. But I didn't say it. Where are you home? She's gone. Left an hour ago. He was crying hard now. Dad, I loved her. I thought we were going to get married. I drove over. Spent the night on his couch while he fell apart. Kept thinking about Wyatt in his apartment 3 years ago, packing with that same mechanical precision. Except Wyatt hadn't called me crying. Hadn't called me at all. Did you think it would be different? The question almost came out. I swallowed it, but something twisted in my gut anyway. Something that felt uncomfortably like realization. A week later, I called Wyatt. He answered on the 4th ring. Hey, Dad? Got a minute? Sure. I didn't know how to start, so I just said it. Holden and Ivy broke up. She cheated on him. Silence long enough. I thought the call had dropped. Wyatt, I'm here. His voice was carefully neutral. And you're telling me this? Why? I thought maybe you'd want to know. He's pretty torn up about it. Another pause. Then, did you call to tell me when I was torn up? The question hit like a punch. That's not. This is different. How? He's your brother. He's hurting. And 3 years ago, I was your son. I was hurting. The neutrality was gone now. But you didn't call to check on me. You called to tell me to get over it. Wyatt, is there anything else? Dad, I've got plans. Maybe this could be, I don't know. A bridge between you two. The laugh that came through the phone wasn't cruel. Exactly. Just tired. A bridge. Right? Because now that Holden knows what betrayal feels like, we can bond over it. That's not what I meant. What did you mean? I didn't have an answer. I need to go, he said. The line went dead. That conversation stuck with me, kept playing in my head at weird times when I was grocery shopping. When I was watching TV, when I was trying to sleep, I started wondering what Wyatt's life looked like now. If he was happy, if he ever thought about us. So, I did something I'm not proud of. I hired a guy, former cop, does private investigation work, told myself it was just concern, just wanting to make sure my son was okay. The report came back 2 weeks later. Wyatt had a girlfriend, serious one, Maeve Thornton, 31, geotechnical engineer. They'd been together 14 months, lived together for 6. There were photos of them at a farmer's market, hiking some trail, at what looked like a work function with her colleagues. In every single photo, Wyatt was smiling, not the polite smile from Thanksgiving. Real smiles, the kind I hadn't seen on his face since before everything happened. I stared at those photos for an hour. My son had been with someone for over a year and I didn't even know her name. I called him. I want to meet her. Excuse me, Maeve. Your girlfriend. I want to meet her. How do you? He stopped. I could practically hear him putting it together. You had someone looking into me. I'm your father. I have a right to know what's going on in your life. No, his voice went cold. Colder than I'd ever heard it. You don't. You lost that right when you asked me to swallow my pain for your comfort. Wyatt. I just want to. You want to what? Meet the woman I've built a life with. The one I didn't tell you about specifically because I knew you'd do something like this. I'm trying to be part of your life by invading my privacy by hiring someone to spy on me. He took a breath when he spoke again. His voice was quieter but somehow worse. You don't get to demand anything for my life. Dad, you made your choice when you sat me down at that park and told me my brother mattered more than my pain. I'm done carrying your guilt. It's not about guilt. It's always been about guilt. I heard rustling on his end. Movement. And just so you know, he said, Maeve knows everything about Holden, about Ivy, about you, about that conversation at the park where you asked me to be the bigger person. My stomach dropped and she's the first person who ever told me I didn't owe any of you forgiveness. The line went dead. I sat there with the phone in my hand, staring at the photo of Wyatt smiling at a woman I'd never meet, and realized I'd been completely shut out of his life, and I'd done it to myself. Holden bounced back faster than I expected. 3 months after Ivy, he was seeing someone new. Kennedy, a nurse he'd met at the bar. I didn't think much of it until he called me 6 months later with news. She's pregnant. I sat down. You've only been together. I know it wasn't planned, but we're keeping it. We're happy about it. He didn't sound happy. He sounded terrified. They moved in together. I helped him buy furniture for the nursery, went to a few appointments. Kennedy seemed nice enough, but there was something brittle in the way they were together. Like they were play acting at being a couple. But I saw an opportunity, a baby, family, something bigger than old grudges. A baby would bring us all together. I planned a baby shower. Made it a whole thing. My house, catered food, invited everyone, sent Wyatt a formal invitation, cream cardstock with his name handwritten on the envelope, included a note. Your nephew deserves to know his uncle. Please come, Dad. I waited for a response, a text, a call, anything. Nothing. The shower came and went. Holden kept checking his phone, looking at the door. Is he coming? I don't think so, son, Kennedy noticed. Who are we waiting for? Nobody. Holden said quickly. But his face said everything. The baby came in November. Holden sent a group text with a photo. Tiny red face. Blue hat wrapped in hospital blankets. Jasper Cole, 7 pounds 3 ounces. Everyone's healthy. I forwarded it to Wyatt with a message. You're an uncle. Congrats. 3 days later. I'm happy Holden is happy. But this doesn't change anything between us. I stared at that text for a long time. Didn't change anything. A baby didn't change anything. What would I made the decision on a Thursday, booked a flight to Albuquerque, rented a car, drove to the address I'd gotten from the investigator's report. Wyatt's workplace, some environmental consulting firm in a low office building near the mountains. I waited in the parking lot until I saw him come out for lunch. He was with 2 coworkers laughing at something one of them said. He looked good. Healthy hand from the desert sun. I got out of my car. Wyatt, he stopped mid-laugh. The smile died. Dad. His coworkers glanced between us, picked up on the tension, made excuses, and left. What are you doing here? We need to talk. So, you flew to another state and showed up at my workplace. He looked around like he was checking for witnesses. This is insane. There's a coffee shop across the street. Give me 20 minutes. He checked his watch, jaw tight. 20 minutes. We sat in a corner booth. I pulled out my phone, showed him photos of Jasper. The hospital holding him. Kennedy tired but smiling. He's beautiful, isn't he? Wyatt glanced at the photos. Yeah. He's your blood. Your family. Dad. Family means something. Wyatt, I know you're angry with Holden with me, but this baby, he's innocent. He deserves to know his uncle. Wyatt set my phone down carefully. You flew here to guilt trip me with a baby. I flew here because I miss my son. You miss the son who did what you wanted. I'm not him anymore. I'm asking you to try. One dinner. Come meet your nephew, that's all. He looked at me for a long moment. Something like pity crossed his face. Dad, I love you. I do. But I don't trust you. He stood up, and I don't want to be around people who made me feel worthless for protecting myself. I never said you were worthless. You didn't have to say it. He pulled out his wallet, dropped a 10 on the table for the coffee he hadn't touched. You asked me to be the bigger person. To forgive. To move on. You asked me to make myself smaller so everyone else could be comfortable. That's what worthless means. He walked toward the door. I followed him outside. A car pulled up to the curb. A woman was driving, dark hair, pretty, professional looking. She saw Wyatt, then me. Her expression shifted like she knew exactly who I was. Maeve. She didn't get out. Didn't introduce herself. Just waited. That's my ride. Wyatt said. She won't even meet me. I asked her not to. She's protecting me. He opened the passenger door from you. I watched them drive away. Maeve glanced at me once in the rear view mirror. I couldn't read her expression. 2 days later, I got an email. Subject. Final boundary. Dad. I need you to stop. Stop showing up. Stop using family as emotional blackmail. Stop treating my boundaries like they're negotiable. I've built a life where I'm respected and valued. Where people don't ask me to shrink myself to avoid confrontation. Where my peace matters more than everyone else's comfort. If you can't respect my boundaries, we're done completely. This is your warning, Wyatt. I read it 3 times. Then deleted it. He'd calm down. He always did. He just needed time. 3 months of silence. Then I got a text from Dennis. My buddy who'd run into Wyatt at that restaurant years ago. Hey, congratulations on Wyatt's engagement. When's the wedding? I stared at the message. What engagement? My hands were shaking when I called Dennis back. What are you talking about, Wyatt? I saw the announcement on Facebook. Him and some girl named Mave. Looked like a pretty nice ring in the photo. I hung up, opened Facebook, searched Wyatt's name. His profile was locked down tight. Had been for years, but I found it through mutual friends. Someone had shared his post. The photo showed Wyatt and Maeve on a hiking trail, golden hour light, mountains in the background, her hand on his chest, showing off a ring. Both of them looking at each other like nothing else existed. The caption, she said, yes, easiest decision I've ever made. 247 likes, 83 comments, all from people I didn't know. My son was engaged and I'd found out on Facebook. I called him 17 times that day. Every call went straight to voicemail. I texted, when were you going to tell me you're engaged? Hours passed. I was on my deck watching the sunset when my phone finally buzzed. I wasn't. 2 words. That's all I got. I called again. This time, he answered. We need to talk about this. No, we don't. I'm your father, Wyatt. You're getting married and I find out on Facebook. You're lucky you found out at all. His voice was calm. Too calm. I didn't tag you. Didn't mention you. You went looking. Of course, I went looking. What did you expect? I expected you to respect the boundary I set 3 months ago. The one you ignored by deleting the email instead of reading it. My throat went dry. How did you read receipts, Dad? You opened it, read it, and deleted it in under 2 minutes. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. That told me everything I needed to know. When's the wedding? Why? Because I'm your father and I deserve to know. You lost the right to these moments when you chose Holden's comfort over my dignity. His voice stayed level, but I could hear something underneath. Exhaustion. I'm marrying someone who's been there for me in ways you never were. You're not invited because I don't want you there. The words hit like a physical blow. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious about anything. Wyatt, I made mistakes. I know that. But I'm still your father. You were my father. But fathers protect their sons. You protected an image. He paused. I have to go. Maeve. And I have dinner reservations. Don't hang up. Goodbye. Dad. The line went dead. I spent the next week in a fog. Couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. Kept replaying every conversation, every choice, trying to find the moment where I could have done something different. Then the social media posts started. Someone tagged Wyatt in engagement party photos. I recognized a few faces. Old college friends, co-workers maybe. Everyone looked happy. Maeve's family was there. Her parents beaming. Wyatt in a button-down arm around her waist. That same genuine smile. Comments rolled in. You two are perfect together. Finally met the right one. About time someone locked you down. One from someone named Bryce. So glad you found your people, man. You deserve all the happiness, your people. Like his family wasn't his people anymore. Another post, this time from Maeve's sister. Welcome to the family, Wyatt. We couldn't love you more if we tried. He'd been absorbed into her world completely. Had a whole life I knew nothing about. Friends who'd never heard of me. Inside jokes I'd never understand. I scrolled through comments for an hour like I was torturing myself. Maybe I was. I wrote him a letter. Took me 3 days to get it right. Admitted I was wrong. Said I understood why he was angry. Begged to be included, even if just as a guest in the back row. Told him I loved him and I was sorry. Sent an express mail to his apartment. It came back a week later unopened with a note paper clipped to the front and handwriting that wasn't Wyatt's. Wyatt asked me to return this. He's not ready and pushing won't help. Please respect his peace. Maeve. She'd signed her name. Polite, firm. The message clear. She was the gatekeeper now, and I wasn't getting through. The details came in pieces through people who didn't know they were twisting the knife. Dennis again saw Wyatt's wedding is going to be in Santa Fe. Fancy destination thing. My ex-wife's sister, who'd apparently stayed in touch with him. The venue looks beautiful. Just close friends and family. Close friends and family. I was neither, apparently. My sister called on a Tuesday. Did you know the wedding's in 3 months? I heard. Are you going? I wasn't invited. Long silence. Oh. I thought maybe. I mean. He invited me. I assumed he invited you. Yeah. And your ex-wife and her parents? She sounded uncomfortable. I thought you knew. So. Everyone was invited. Everyone except me. And Holden. I'd checked with him. He hadn't heard anything either. Holden showed up at my house on a Friday night, drunk. I heard him stumbling on the porch before he even knocked. He's getting married, he slurred when I opened the door. I know. He pushed past me, collapsed on my couch. I destroyed everything, didn't I? I sat in the chair across from him, didn't answer. Kennedy's leaving me, he continued. Taking Jasper says I'm not present. That I'm drinking too much. He laughed bitterly. My relationship started with me being a piece of crap. And now it's ending the same way. I looked at my younger son, 30 years old, falling apart, no direction, the son I'd protected, the son I'd chosen. And suddenly, I was angry at him, at myself, at the whole situation. You did this, I said. He looked up, eyes red. What? You slept with your brother's girlfriend. You destroyed his trust. And I made it worse by asking him to pretend it didn't matter. You defended me. I was wrong. The words hung in the air. First time I'd said them out loud. Holden stared at me. Then he started crying. Not drunk crying. The deep broken kind that comes from somewhere real. I let him sleep on the couch. In the morning, he was gone. My sister called me 2 weeks later. He asked me not to tell you. She started. But I think you should know. My stomach tightened. What? I talked to Wyatt today, just finalizing travel plans for the wedding. She paused. He's happy, really happy. He told me this wedding is his new beginning. Celebrating with people who never asked him to be smaller to make others comfortable. I closed my eyes. He's not coming back, she said gently. You need to accept that. Did he say that? He didn't have to. Another pause. He's built a whole life. Brother career he loves. Woman who adores him. Friends who respect his boundaries. He's not angry anymore. He's just done. He's my son. I know, but you can't guilt someone into loving you. And you can't demand forgiveness. After she hung up, I sat in my empty house and thought about Wyatt at 7 years old, holding up that fish with pride. Thought about teaching him to stand up for himself, to not let anyone push him around. I taught him too well. He'd learned to stand up even to me. The wedding was on a Saturday in April. I knew because my sister had mentioned it in passing, then looked horrified she'd said anything. I woke up that morning and knew exactly where Wyatt was. Getting ready, nervous, probably happy, definitely surrounded by people who loved him, people who weren't me. I thought about driving to the airport. Thought about buying a ticket to Santa Fe. Thought about showing up anyway, standing in the back just to see him happy. But halfway through checking flight prices, I stopped. Showing up would be another act of putting my needs first, another violation of his boundaries, another proof that I still didn't understand what I'd done. So, I stayed home. My sister sent a text that evening. It was beautiful. I didn't ask for details. Didn't ask for photos. Just replied, "I'm glad." But I tortured myself anyway. Checked social media obsessively. Found a few posts from guests. Distant shots of a ceremony site, desert landscape, string lights. Someone posted a photo of the reception tables, flowers, and candles. One of Maeve's cousins posted a selfie with the caption, "When the groom's vows make you cry in public." I wondered what Wyatt said. If he mentioned building a new life, if he mentioned the people who'd supported him, if there was any space in those vows for the family he'd left behind. Probably not. 3 days after the wedding, I called him. It went to voicemail. I didn't expect anything different. "I won't apologize anymore," I said after the beep, because I know words mean nothing at this point. "I'll just say this. I was wrong about everything. I chose the wrong son to protect the wrong fight to pick. You didn't know hold and forgiveness. You didn't know me compliance. I taught you to stand up for yourself, then punished you when you did." I paused, trying to find the right words. "I see that now. I see it too late, but I see it. I hope you're happy. I hope she makes you happy. I hope you have everything I tried to take from you." I hung up. A week passed. Then a text came through. "I got your message. I appreciate you saying it. But Dad, this isn't about whether you understand now. It's about the years I spent trying to make you see, and you refused. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just done. I hope you find peace with your choices." I found mine. I read it 50 times. Looking for an opening, a crack, some sign he'd be willing to try. There wasn't one. He wasn't being cruel. He was being healthy. The son I'd raised to be strong had actually become strong. Strong enough to walk away from toxicity. Even when it wore a family name. Even when it was me. Holden's life kept unraveling. Kennedy did leave. Took Jasper with her. Custody arrangement gave Holden every other weekend. He missed the first 2 because he was too drunk to pick up his son. I watched him spiral and felt something I didn't expect. Resentment. I'd protected this son, defended him, enabled him, and he turned into someone I barely recognized. Someone who couldn't hold a job, couldn't maintain a relationship, couldn't be bothered to show up for his own kid. Meanwhile, Wyatt, the son I dismissed, the son I'd asked to swallow his pain, was thriving. The irony was so sharp it hurt. 6 months after the wedding, I saw a photo online. Someone had tagged Wyatt in a post from some professional conference. He was giving a presentation standing at a podium looking confident and composed. Maeve was in the audience watching him with obvious pride. The comments were full of praise. "Brilliant presentation. This guy's going places. Relationship goals." One from someone named Bryce again. "Proud of you, brother. You've come so far." I closed the laptop. Wyatt had built the life I'd always claimed to want for him. Successful career, loving partner, supportive community. He just built it without me in it. December came. I wasn't expecting anything. So, when the card showed up in my mailbox, I almost threw it out with a junk mail. Return address from New Mexico, Wyatt's handwriting. I opened it carefully. A simple Christmas card. Photo of him and Maeve matching sweaters standing in front of a decorated tree. Both smiling. Both wearing wedding rings. No personal message inside, just the printed text, "Wishing you peace and happiness this holiday season." But it was addressed to me, which meant he hadn't completely erased me. Hadn't fully closed the door. I put it on my mantle. Only card there, the only evidence I had left that my oldest son still existed somewhere out there. I think about the conversation at the park sometimes, the one where I told Wyatt to be the bigger person, to forgive for the sake of family. I thought I was keeping us together. Thought I was doing the hard thing, making the tough call, but I was just taking the easy route. Easier to ask the hurt one to bend than to hold the guilty one accountable. Easier to demand forgiveness than to earn it back. Easier to sacrifice one son's dignity than to deal with the uncomfortable truth that the other son had destroyed something precious. Wyatt didn't refuse to forgive. He refused to pretend. He handled the betrayal with dignity. I handled it with denial. And by the time I understood the difference, he was already gone, stronger, happier, finally free. I didn't lose my son because he wouldn't forgive. I lost him because I asked the wrong one to carry the burden. He warned me once. I didn't listen. That card stays on my mantle all year now. I look at it sometimes and see my son's face, content, peaceful, loved, everything I wanted for him, just not with me. And that I finally understand is exactly as it should be. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you really like our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.